Welcome to the studio, aka my trusty IKEA wardrobe. In the next 10 minutes or less, I'll show you how I transformed it into the ultimate miniature painting workspace. And also, I'll share a few tips on how to assemble MDF storage and how I lost some LED diodes trying soldering for the first time. Let's get started. First, I had to move into the wardrobe because I don't have a spare room to dedicate to my hobby. This way I can hide everything away and keep my family and pets safe from the potential danger waiting behind these doors. It was constant battle inside, and I was fighting chaos. There were three main issues I needed to take care of. Constantly misplacing tools, because things didn't have designated spots. Second, limited space to move and rest my hands while painting. And third, wasting time searching for supplies and cleaning up clutter instead of painting. I had to keep in mind that this isn't just a hobby space. It also serves as a video recording stage. So when planning a solution, I needed to balance efficiency and effectiveness. That's why I spent a good amount of time on the HobbyZone website, carefully planning out what storage I actually need. I wanted to elevate everything from my desktop to free up as much space as possible. Obvious necessities were storage for paints and bottles, but I also needed a secure place for works in progress. And most importantly, a spot for Q-tips and pipettes. I analyzed my workflow and found that constantly searching for this was the most annoying thing. So I started with this drawer module as a main piece to have within easy reach at all times. When the package arrived the next day, I unpacked everything and began assembly. If you are considering getting a modular system like this, here are a few quick tips that will save you a lot of time. Seriously. The pieces come joined together, and you shouldn't simply break them off, as that can cause damage. Cutting them is an option, but here is a faster way. Simply turn them over and score the joint in between. This score will create a line, along which you can now safely break them off. Use just enough glue and brush to avoid glue spills. There's no need to add a unnecessary cleaning step. Use a snap-off blade or hobby knife to remove excess material. Blades will dull quickly. You'll know when they start to squash fibers instead of slicing them off. In that case, gently sand the surface with sandpaper, but most spots won't be visible after assembly anyway. All the pieces fit nicely, just needed to use a brute force in one spot. And I used masking tape to hold everything together until the glue dried. The modules also come with magnets to hold them together, but I'll keep them for later. Also, I didn't glue the bottom part of the paint rack, because it has two options. The current standing option and an additional piece for if I ever want to hang it on the wall instead. I will tell you more about the lighting in a moment, but because I like dark spaces, I got another IKEA item, a Scuddy's pegboard. During mounting, it turned out that they stick out from the surface just enough to hover over the door hinges. I could have gotten bigger ones, but since they're black, they will prevent light from bouncing off of the white walls. This will allow me to better control the light on the subject, for more cinematic effect. When you are recording in a small space, light spilling in every direction can result in lack of contrast and shadows in the shot. And I want shadows in the background for more three-dimensional look. Pegboards will also allow me to showcase cool hobby stuff like a proper man cave should, so I can enjoy the view. I can hang my sprue clipper there, ready to grab when I need it. Now I can easily hang my LED bar using these rubber wires, which also makes recording less of a hassle. When I was sorting and packing everything back in its place, I noticed that the shelf that I use as a desktop started to curve under the weight. So it's a good idea to screw in some reinforcements underneath, or to support it like I do, with wood clamps that are pushed against my drawers, where I keep the rest of my stuff like beads and basic materials. The arrangement will surely change naturally after a few painting sessions, when I see what works best for me. The last part of this project was lighting. Before that, I wanted to briefly mention that my workspace isn't the only thing getting makeover. I've also made some changes on my Patreon. So if you would like to support the channel, use the link in the pinned comment, or just hit like button and subscribe. This also helps more than you think. When it comes to lighting, my opinion is that the best and most affordable light for painting and recording is the IKEA tertial lamp. Sometimes I just put paper towel over the bulb to make it softer and fill in more shadows. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to fit the light, so I tried using a smaller lamp on a gooseneck, which didn't work as well. But luckily, I was able to fit the tertial on my desktop edge, in a way that I can close the doors with no issues. I also tried using Navlinch clamp light as an accent, but even with some modifications, I didn't like the quality and power of that light. So I decided to grab some LED strips. And in addition, it will be a great opportunity to learn soldering, so I will be able to incorporate this skill into future projects. If you are thinking of getting some RGB lights into your workspace, I must warn you that they may mess up your color perception, so you may want to reconsider. The shorter one comes with a button controller, and the longer one is pilot operated. So I will try to split the longer one into two pieces and attach everything to one pilot operated line. First, I slice the LED strip into two halves. You can slice LED strips in the marked spots when connectors are visible. And then, using a handsaw, I split the aluminium profile to the right length. Using a wire stripping tool, I removed the ends of the cables. I twisted them and secured them with painter's tape to the surface, so they don't move while I attempt to prime them with solder. I didn't know what to expect, however, the tip of my soldering iron wasn't melting the solder easily, but I managed. I made them shorter to fit the size of the contact points on the LED strip. Then I heated up the contact point a little and tried to apply a drop of solder on each connection point. After that, I approached it with the wire, but again, there wasn't enough heat on the tip of my iron to melt that solder. Not to mention melt the solder on the other side of the wire. At that point, I was blaming my lack of skill or knowledge rather than the tool itself, so I kept trying. Even if I managed to attach the wire, the solder didn't want to stick. And I wasn't sure if it's because it's not hot enough or something. I was using solder with flux already, but I got extra soldering paste and tried using it. It didn't help. The tip of the iron was hotter about 1 centimeter higher, where there were more mass to accumulate the temperature. So I was trying to work with that part, resulting in less precision and the silicone coat melting and mixing with the solder. It was looking like a real mess. And after hours of struggle, I ended up losing 3 diodes, but gaining a ruined day. Yet, I couldn't accept the failure. The next day, I borrowed another soldering iron. Still a cheap one, but with temperature regulation. Again, I prepared wires and a fresh LED strip. And with this iron, it all went smoothly. Maybe it was because of the more massive tip end, or maybe it was able to get hotter, but the solder was melting in an instant, allowing me to attach wires with no effort at all. After that, I plugged them into the power to check if it actually works. And it was a success. One thing to do was to secure the wires and joints with heat shrinks and blowtorch. If you don't want to solder LEDs, there are pre-made connectors like this one, so I decided to try it out on the third strip. But first, I needed to desolder the existing power supply connector. After all that, it turned out that the clips are holding the strip just enough to transfer electricity. But it's falling off when moving. And on top of that, the red LEDs aren't working. Maybe it's because of the solder leftovers on the contact points. But I think it's a suitable solution if you don't plan to move these lights. Since I won't use red anyway, I will leave it like that. But now that I've unlocked new skill, I can solder them together anytime if needed. And it will be sooner rather than later, judging by how many times it fell off while I was sticking the strips to the LED profiles. I got an USB extender to power them from the other end of my wardrobe. 2 strips went under the pegboard to shine light from behind for a cool effect. And the third one will light the board from the top to put some color accent over the tools. I am really excited about the idea of incorporating soldering and electronics into my miniatures, and I might already have some ideas. What are your biggest workspace challenges? If you learned something here with me, give me a sub and watch this next video. This was Martin from Wardrobe Workshop. Cheers!